All right, welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're sitting on a board or you're a senior executive or investor, you already know the AI conversation is, well, it's at a total fever pitch. But we really need to move past this era of pure hype. So today, we're doing a critical briefing on how to shift your organization away from just chasing the latest AI novelty and toward achieving scalable, ironclad enterprise control. We are basically going to look at the massive missing layer in AI strategy today.
Here's our roadmap for deconstructing all of this. We're going to cut right through the AI upgrade noise, identify the actual control bottleneck, and then introduce the solution, something called the energetic paradigm. After that, we'll see how to leverage existing substrates to save on R&D and wrap up with the strategic investment case. Let's dive in.
All right, starting with Section 1, the AI upgrade noise.
So, if you're in the boardroom right now, you are probably suffering from major announcement fatigue. I mean, it feels like a new, groundbreaking AI model drops literally every week, right? But we really have to stop and ask ourselves, are we actually upgrading intelligence, or are we just upgrading the noise? Because yes, the progress is absolutely real, but excitement isn't control. And just adopting a tool doesn't automatically buy you reliability.
Take a close look at what vendors are actually selling you right now. They're offering capability engineering, better outputs for coding or reasoning, but there's no way to actually govern those outputs. Or they offer training improvements like RLHF, but those are completely trapped inside a model-centric view. Then you've got autonomous agents and tool calling being pushed, which honestly just makes your control problem completely unavoidable. And sure, they'll sell you smaller models and cheaper tokens, but for an enterprise, cheaper usage without governance just scales waste and false behavior faster. None of these actually solve the core issue.
Which brings us to Section 2, the control bottleneck.
Think about foundation models like a massive, incredibly powerful engine. All this model capability stuff focuses purely on producing an answer. It's asking what output is likely, prioritizing speed and fluency above all else. But putting a massive engine in a car without steering or brakes, that is a recipe for disaster. Governance, the steering and the brakes, asks the hard questions. It asks what constraints and feedback loops are actually producing this answer. A standard model just generates a strategy. A governance system, on the other hand, ensures that strategy can actually survive execution.
And that leads us to one of the absolutely critical insights from our source material today. Quote, "A weak model usually fails visibly. A strong model can fail persuasively." I really want you to let that sink in for a second. The stronger the model gets, the greater your need for control. A weak early generation chatbot, it just hallucinates obvious garbage and stops early. But a highly capable, uncontrolled agent, it can veer far off course and produce a mathematically beautiful, highly persuasive, yet totally strategically false report before a single human even realizes there's an error.
And on the ground, this lack of control is incredibly expensive. We are seeing insane token waste, just burning through computing power with zero ROI. We're seeing agents getting stuck in recursive error loops and massive governance gaps with absolutely no audit trails or role-based access. But the worst offender is what we call fake completion. That's when you get a pristine 50-page AI-generated document that looks stunning but is strategically useless. In high-stakes environments like biotech or institutional investing, those hidden assumptions are an unacceptable risk. You just can't afford them.
So, how do we fix this? That takes us to Section 3, enter the energetic paradigm.
To solve this massive, urgent demand for control, we introduce the energetic paradigm, or EP for short. Now, I want to be crystal clear here. EP is not another foundation model trying to compete with big tech. Not at all. It is the essential control logic that sits above those models. It's a system that structures, constrains, verifies, corrects, and actually scales intelligence across real-world workflows.
Now, I hear this fear from the C-suite all the time, that committing to an architecture now means a new model release next month will just make it obsolete. With EP, the exact opposite is true. When foundation models keep upgrading, the energetic paradigm upgrades right alongside them. Every time a foundation model improves, it basically just acts as new, raw energy for EP to govern and route through your control structure.
Because it functions as an oversight layer, EP expands control seamlessly. We're talking about governing complex control objects, not just text, but live coding, deep due diligence, even video production. It sharpens control resolution, meaning you can finally distinguish between constraints, bottlenecks, and feedback loops.
It gives you true execution depth, moving your workflows from neat little conceptual ideas into fully repeatable, agentic control systems. And as AI pushes into highly regulated markets, biotech, cybersecurity, public policy, this level of control isn't just nice to have. Its market relevance is absolutely paramount.
Okay, moving on to Section 4, Building on Existing Substrates. As an executive, you are probably wondering about implementation costs right about now. Well, here is the best news for your balance sheet. Deploying EP does not require you to build a multi-billion-dollar foundation model from scratch. It uses existing frontier models as substrates. That incredibly frantic, ultra-expensive arms race happening between the tech giants right now, for you, if you're leveraging EP, that race is a tailwind. It's not a threat.
That's because EP is highly adaptable and completely model agnostic. Whether you're plugging in OpenAI's GPT, Anthropic's Claude, Google's Gemini, Meta's Llama, or even models like DeepSeek and Mistral, EP runs beautifully across the board. If a vendor suddenly drops their API price, guess what? EP just routes tasks over there. It literally takes this entire chaotic AI ecosystem and turns it into interchangeable raw material for your governed enterprise engine.
And the best part is you can roll this out safely in phased stages. First, you start with the methodology, analyzing your high-value use cases. Then you lock in a repeatable workflow. From there, you build up a document and media engine to prove out the execution, which eventually lets you activate a full agent control layer. By the time you reach step 5, the enterprise intelligence infrastructure, you've already been producing usable, measurable business value at every single stage along the way.
Finally, let's head into Section 5, the strategic investment case.
Let's bring this explainer home and look at the massive strategic opportunity here. Just look at how the bottleneck has shifted over time. In the past, the bottleneck was just model capability. We literally just asked, can the AI write, or reason, or code? Today, the bottleneck is system control. Can the AI actually maintain an objective without drifting off into the weeds? Looking ahead, the future belongs entirely to usable infrastructure. The winners will be those who can convert raw AI outputs into stable, audited enterprise execution. For investors and C-suite leaders, the traction behind EP rests on 3 very logical pillars. First, demand. Better models actually create larger control gaps and far more execution risk, so the need is huge. Second, execution. It's incredibly lean because it deploys over existing models, no frontier training capital required. And third, scalability. This oversight layer scales across all models, all workflows, and all high-stakes industries seamlessly. So it all comes down to a very stark, binary outcome for your enterprise. Without control, giving your teams stronger models just creates stronger noise and frankly exponentially scales your risk. But with control, those exact same models become incredibly stable, transformational execution systems.
This quote from the source material absolutely hits the nail on the head. The winning question is no longer only which model is smarter today. The winning question is who owns the control layer that makes intelligence usable, stable, and scalable. As an executive, owning or integrating that control layer is, without a doubt, your ultimate strategic advantage in this new AI era. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up today's explainer. Take a hard look at the workflows, the agents, and the models operating inside your company right now. How is your organization actually governing its intelligence? Are you just upgrading the noise, or are you building the energetic paradigm to truly control it? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. See you next time.